Och vi ska sjunga en väckelsesång tillsammans med newsflashen idag som går så här. Den som vinner, övervinner. Han av Herren får en sten, glänsande och vit och ren. Där står namnet, nya namnet. Den som ingen känner blott, den som vann det. Då är det så att detta står ju i Uppenbarelseboken 2:17 då. Den som har öron, han må höra vad anden säger till församlingarna. Och den som segrar eller övervinner skall jag ge av det dolda mannat. Och en vit sten ska jag ge till honom. Och på den är skrivet ett nytt namn som ingen känner utom den som får det. Framför oss samlas man troligen nu för att dela landet och dela Jerusalem och upprätta avtal med Israel eller tvinga fram en fredslösning. Och då vet vi vad klockan är slagen, vi som följer det profetiska ordet. Det kommer alltså ett vilddjur och ett kontrollsystem, men det kommer ju inte bara pang rätt upp. Utan det är ju en förberedelse, och vi har ett klipp med End Time Ministry som talar just om denna utveckling. Och så har vi då Newsflash med denna härliga, underbara väckelsesång om övervinnarna som får den vita stenen. Gud välsigna er och lyssna nu sen på budskapet. Amen.
On in the world, proving we're in the end time. Precursors to the mark of the beast. Revelation 13:16 says this. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell. It's going to be economic sanctioning, save he that had the mark. So they're going to try to economic sanctioning individuals to get them to bow down to the edicts of the Antichrist and his world governing system. So what the mark of the beast is all about. Well, one of the precursors we're watching right now is facial recognition technology. It's now being implemented on a widespread basis. For example, the official TSA website is openly admitting that the TSA is starting to use facial scanning technology at airports nationwide. DFW right out here, the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex Airport, they have it. TSA introduced facial recognition technology into the screening process at these select airports, and the facial recognition technology represents a significant security enhancement, and they say, well, it improves traveler convenience, right? Come on. Traveler, it's nothing as convenient as it was back in the 70s and 80s when I was growing up. Just hand me a driver's license and walk through the thing, right? No big lines. People could walk into the gate and see you off. Well, a traveler, they say, may voluntarily agree to use their face to verify their identity during the screening process. Well, when I do it now, I put my driver's license in. I just did it the other day, and the guy says, align your face up with the camera. They didn't give me a choice. I just did it. And people can use this now by presenting their physical identification or passport, or they can choose to use the facial recognition. So the facial recognition technology that TSA is using, they say it helps to ensure the person standing at the checkpoint is the same pictured on the identification document, this credential. But photos are not stored or saved after a positive ID match has been made. So except in a limited testing environment for evaluation of effectiveness on the technology, that's the way it works. So the agency is using second-generation credential authentication technology, these scanners, as travelers enter these screening processes. And this technology assists transportation security officers in verifying the authenticity of a traveler's credential, as well as their flight status and vetting status. Man, if we just do that down at the border, it'd be over with, wouldn't it? At least our border crisis, or at least it would greatly decrease it. But TSOs must direct all passengers to the proper lane and these pre-check things, screening things, standard for screening and enhanced screening. And these Cat 2 units are currently deployed at nearly 30 airports nationwide and will expand to more than 400 federalized airports over the coming years. You say, what's this got to do with the mark of the beast? It is identification, digital identification to control the populace. Facial recognition photographs is just one. They want to get a control of, they really want a global ID where everybody's in a global database. That way they can track you all over the world. Then with central bank digital currencies, they can track your finances. And I mean, they want you in a total digital system. They want to be able to pick you out. Hey, we're looking for Dave Robbins. He's works at End Time Ministries, and he's been saying this on the radio. And they want to be able to pick me up if I'm in Israel, if I'm in Europe, if I'm up in Branson, if I'm down in South Texas. They want to be able to pick me up immediately. It's absolute control. You're never off their radar. And that's exactly what the mark of the beast is designed to do. The mark of the beast is a mark that they will put on you, on your right hand or in your forehead, and without which you're not going to be able to buy or sell. It's economic sanctioning. So these facial recognition photograph sensors and different things that are being placed in these airports, it is a precursor to the eventual digital ID system that will be used to economically sanction individuals into compliance, or i.e. the mark of the beast. Number two, the elite want to make national borders meaningless. Well, of course they do. They want to do away with all the borders. Europe, the European Union is the model of world government in the earth today. They've done away, all the European nations, European Union nations, have done away with their borders. No more tariffs. I could raise a field of corn in Rome, or I should say in Italy, and drive all the way across Europe and sell it in Germany if I want to. Because there's no borders without a passport. You can drive all the way throughout Europe. No passports. They've done away with their borders. Because again, it's the model for world government. You can't have borders and people protecting this, and they're trying to create a global state that answers to a one world governing body. That's what they're trying to create. Strobe Talbot, he was president of the Brookings Institution from 2002 to, I think it was 2017. He was the former Deputy Secretary of State for Clinton, and he said that he said it really clearly in an article he wrote. The title of the article was "The Birth of a Global Nation." In other words, one global state that answers to a world governing body. He wrote that article back in Time magazine in July of 1992. He said this, and I'm quoting, "In the next century, the century we're in now, nationhood as we know it will be obsolete. All states will recognize a single global authority, and that's the goal of every globalist, along with the United Nations, is the removal of national borders and the creation of a single global community which answers to a world government." Now that's the goal. Now, for this to happen, nations who are in compliance, Israel's never going to do this. Look at what happened when they broke through Israel's southern border along the Gaza Strip. And they came in and killed 1,200 and some people and took like 240 some hostages. You got to protect your borders, right? Or you really have no nation left. They can come in and destroy you at a whim. Well, nations need to throw open their borders for this globalist ideology to come to realization. Well, that is exactly what the United Nations is pressing for, you guys. Consider the United Nations Global Compact for Migration. The United Nations is the seat of world government in the earth. The Bible tells us about an end-time world government. Revelation 13, 1 and 2. And this is exactly what's happening, the United Nations Global Compact for Migration. According to the United Nations' own website, the Global Compact is a significant opportunity to improve the governance, the world governance on migration. And they say to address the challenges associated with today's migration and to strengthen the contribution of migrants and migration to sustainable development. The Sustainable Development Goals is the United Nations socialistic blueprint to govern the world. So, there are 17 goals. Goal number 10 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals is to reduce inequality within and among countries. Goal 10, and then they've got little targets underneath. Target 10.7 of that goal is to facilitate orderly, safe, regular, and responsible migration and mobility of people, including through the implementation of planned and well-managed migration policies. The Sustainable Development Goals, the United Nations socialistic blueprint to govern the planet. And in so doing, they want to govern the migration of people around the world. So to do that, you've got to fling your borders wide open if you're in compliance with this. Now you know what's going on the southern border of the United States. Essentially, the United Nations wants to even out the inequalities among countries through the movement of people around the world in an orderly fashion. And this is a necessary step to the implementation of global socialism, because the United Nations is a socialistic entity. The Bible tells us the end-time world government will be a socialistic, communistic entity, a red beast. Well, Andrew Arthur, he serves as a resident fellow in law and policy for the Center for Immigration Studies. He describes it like this. He says, look, and I'm quoting, he said, were the United States to continue in the Global Compact on Migration, and were that compact to push to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, which is exactly what it's doing, the United States would essentially have to implement an open borders policy to even make a dent in the inequality among nations. Now, I want you to understand, during the Obama administration and now during the Biden administration, tens and tens and tens of millions of people have come across our border. I don't think they fully realize how many people have come across. I was down in Weslaco, Texas 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, and the pastor took me and my wife down by where a lot of people are coming across. Folks, they're simply coming across, getting new backpacks, new tennis shoes, getting some clothes, and getting on a bus, and they're going all over the United States. They're not vetting any of them. You don't know if it's who it is coming across. It might be you name it. Who knows who's coming across? Many of them, an overwhelming amount of them are military-aged males coming from all over the world. Now, talking about world government here, the Bible's very clear there's going to be a world government that the Antichrist will eventually usurp authority over. That's what we're talking about right now. It's already in play, guys. The Global Compact on Migration is to be used to implement the global management system, the Sustainable Development Goals. That's why the United Nations decided to end the United States under the Trump administration decided to end our participation in the UN process to develop a global compact on migration. Once the Trump administration recognized that more global governing restrictions on the United States, that's what they were doing. They under the Trump administration, we pulled out of the global compact on migration. And they said, we, the United States people, will say who comes into our country. Well, guess what? The Biden administration, of course, has signed, they now fully support the globalist global compact on migration. Now you know why we have our problems at our border, basically an open border. Yeah, everybody's asking, man, why won't Joe Biden, the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, why won't he come down here and protect our southern border? Because he's doing what he told by the United Nations. He's not going to protect it. Matter of fact, he's fighting against Texas's effort to protect our border. It's the government's job, but yet Texas is having to take up for what our government is not doing, because Joe Biden, who is a globalist, is doing exactly what he's told. And folks, this is just one more proof that we are living in the end time under the reign of a world governing body. Now,
Herrens stora sköna dag kommer efter Guds behag, och en andeviskning svag når vårt hjärta. Lycklig den som jublar får att hans namn i himlen står, skriven genom Jesus sår, blod och smärta. Den som vinner övervinner, han av Herren får en sten, glänsande och vit och ren. Där står namnet, nya namnet, som ej någon känner är blott den som den som känner Herrens namn har hos Gud en öppen famn. Där är trygg och säker hamn, tiger stormen. Över lejon skall han gå, grymma drakar skall han slå, och förtrampa skall han så gamla ormen. Den som vinner övervinner, han av Herren får en sten, glänsande och vit och ren. Där står namnet, nya namnet, som ej någon känner är blott den som vann det. Gud mig valde att bli hans, gav mig skönast namn som fanns, och av Jesu namnets glans blev jag bunden. Hågen emot himlen sträckt, ledd i helig högtidsdräkt, väntar jag av flyktig väkt hemfärdsstunden. Den som vinner övervinner, han av Herren får en sten, glänsande och vit och ren. Där står namnet, nya namnet, som ej någon känner blott den som vann det. Se, han kommer snart, tiden illa framme fart, och vi höra ljudet klart av hans stämma. Själv han ropar, jag är när, och vi svarar, Herre kär, vi får se dig som du är, evigt hemma. Den som vinner övervinner, han av Herren får en sten, glänsande och vit och ren. Där står namnet, nya namnet, som ej någon känner är blott den som vann det. Som vinner övervinner, han av Herren får en sten, glänsande och vit och ren. Där står namnet, nya namnet, som ej någon känner är blott den som vann